All right, all right, all right. We back. Listen, Board of Education, BORED of Education. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all of that YouTube stuff. Listen, this is part 2, but if you didn't see part 1, you could still watch it. Before I start reviewing the confirmation hearings of Russell Vought, I want to make sure that you have an understanding of who he is. So, that's what the senators are doing. Chuck Schumer spoke, and now Senator Murray is going to speak. And she basically lets you know how she feels. And I'm not here to tell you how to feel. I'm here to let you know what's happening. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But I want you to be able to inform your children. I want you to be able to inform your children because history repeats itself. You might not believe it, but it happens. I already gave you an example. History is repeating itself with a generation that got left behind with the internet. Is the same as the generation that's going to get left behind with AI. It's happening. It's just not the exact same thing, but it's parallel as it can get. So check out this video with homegirl right here.
Well, thank you. Russ Vought has made very clear that as Trump's budget director, he will put everything, as you can see, on the chopping block, from programs that people rely on to the checks and balances that our democracy is actually founded on. In this same role, last time, Vought tried to break the law to give President Trump unilateral authority he does not possess to override the spending decisions of Congress.
All right, so she said in the role last time. So he didn't have this role last time. Mick Mulvaney was confirmed as the office of managing the budget last time, but right beside him, the deputy director of OMB was this dude. So it's very important that you pay attention to this dude because he's already been there in the offices, in the meetings. He has an understanding of what's going on, and he could be dangerous. He also could not be dangerous. It's based on how you perceive these things, but you need to be paying attention to it. I'll tell you that. All right.
It defies all common sense and judgment to put him back in the same role, especially when, as chief architect of Project 2025, he has doubled down on lawlessness, charted a blatantly unconstitutional plan for the president to ignore the will of Congress. Not to mention his long history of anti-abortion extremism. This is someone who does not even believe in exceptions for rape or incest or the life of the mother.
That's
Given
crazy.
his extremism and his clear disdain for the rule of law, we should not hand Vought power that he has made clear he will abuse to help billionaires get ahead at working people's expense. Yesterday, I asked him directly, will you follow the law? Because even if you disagree with the law, you can't ignore them. Maybe you don't like the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, but unless it's changed or struck down, you still have to follow it. This is something every single American understands, except, apparently, Russ Vought. Because the Impoundment Control Act remains the law of the land, and the Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power of the purse. And yet Russ Vought will not say that he will follow the law. If you're not willing to follow our laws, well, then you cannot be trusted to implement our laws.
Yo, I'm sorry to stop it. I'm not gonna stop it again, unless I feel like it. So relax. She gives me like teacher vibes from like the '90s and the early 2000s. She just made an analogy to the speed limit. Like you know that you gotta abide by the speed limit, but there's some people that break it. Now, 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. I'm not doing 25. I'm gonna do 29 so I don't get that camera ticket. And when I pass the camera, I'm gonna do 30. But this is what's happening. These people are doing 30, 40 because they know they got the bread to pay the ticket. And we gotta acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that these people feel like they're above the law because of the money that they have. They park at the hydrant because they know if they get the ticket, they could deal with it. And I've been around people like that. I've been around people that will park the Maserati at the hydrant. And yo, if it gets a ticket, if the ticket's $210, I'm gonna just pay it. It's nothing. So this is what we're dealing with here.
If you will not commit to respecting constitutional checks and balances, then why on earth should Congress or the American people entrust you with power? Seriously, no senator who believes Congress holds the power of the purse should vote for an OMB director who will not respect the laws that we pass or disperse the investments we as lawmakers have secured for our states. We're not talking about whether or not our constituents have their voices. We are actually talking about whether or not our constituents have their vote and voices heard. We're talking about the most basic ability of Congress to negotiate deals and do our jobs. How are we ever supposed to reach a bipartisan compromise here if Vought and President Trump are just going to ignore any bargain we strike, as the president has already taken sweeping action to do just that? That's not rhetorical. I want an answer. If the president can just decide he won't fund infrastructure programs that Congress funded on a bipartisan basis, how are we going to ever get anything done around here? What are the communities we represent who are counting on these investments going to do? And of course, when we talk about Russ Vought, we're talking about sweeping cuts to programs that people rely on every single day.
All right. So also, just for like some context, these are the things that were eliminated out of the budget last time Trump was in office. So there's a community development block grant for HUD, affordable housing and community projects eliminated out the budget. Low income home energy assistance canceled out the budget. Corporation for Public Broadcasting, so like PBS and NPR, they got phased out, but I'm sure Biden's administration helped with bringing it back up. But NPR and PBS could disappear. National Endowment for the Arts, eliminated. National Endowment for Humanities, eliminated. Institute of Museums and Library Services. Like, what? That's crazy. I mean, I don't know if this was a pandemic thing, but I vividly remember the libraries closing on certain days where they used to be open. I remember because we had a group in the civic duty program where we had high school students at local schools in Southeast Jamaica, Queens. Right, we would take them to the library and work on their college essays, and that was during the weekend. And I don't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, but I vividly remember that we thought that the library was open and it wasn't. So that might have been because of that, and that's interesting. That just shows like certain things you just don't pay attention to. AmeriCorps, Corporation for National and Community Services. Like all of this stuff is like hood stuff. Like, oh no, overseas food aid. A lot of people seem not to care about the people from other countries, so we just gonna skip through that. And 21st century community learning centers. These are all like, it seems like inner city things, like HUD, low energy assistance program, public broadcast, National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for Humanity. These are all like hood things, and we don't care about politics, so we don't know that these things are happening. Eliminated, 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 phased out, eliminated, eliminated, and yeah, it's bad. It's bad. They saving like $3 million, $3 million, $485 million, $162 million, $162 million there, $230 million, $500 million. These are all like these are all programs that we need, but if you don't come from where you think they need these programs, or if you come from a place that didn't need these programs, you won't be able to justify to yourself why these programs are even necessary. You just live in a different reality. So that's what's happening here.
Because Vought has made all too clear, as OMB director, he won't just draw blood. He will cut programs family rely on to the bone. SNAP, that families that are hungry rely on. A wall of paperwork to cut people off from their health care. Thousands of public servants forced out of roles serving the American people, all while he works with Trump to dole out more tax breaks to billionaires and the biggest corporations. The vision is all out there in public statements and Project 2025. Vought hasn't been secretive or subtle. He wants to ignore the law. He wants to ignore the will of Congress. He wants to ignore the needs of our constituents, and we should not give him that opportunity. I'll be making very clear to every one of my colleagues, especially my fellow appropriators, we need to maintain Congress's power of the purse and our most basic checks and balances. We need to ensure that our communities, Republican and Democratic, are protected, and we need to reject Russ Vought's nomination.
Thank you, Patty, because every member here, Jeff is chairman, ranking member rather, of our Budget Committee, new ranking member, and every member here is on the Budget Committee, and I want to compliment them all. I hope you watched the hearings yesterday, which everyone here did a great job.
So, like he said, I hope you guys watched the hearings because everybody there did a great job. Their job, basically during the hearings, was to make sure that that people, pardon me, yeah. So, the Senate confirmation hearings, which they said that all of these people here did a great job. That's what Chuck Schumer just said. All of these people did a great job. Their job was not only to ask questions. Their job was to ask questions to let people know that are about to vote for this guy. This is who he is. This is who we're about to put into the Department of Budget Management. And we can't do this because he is not right. They already got rid of all of this stuff. So he's not right for the job. We need to figure out how to not let him get nominated. But it seems like people that are not qualified or are not good for the country are getting nominated. So we're going to have to see what happens. And like I said before, if you're not paying attention and this stuff is happening, you can't say it's happening behind your back. Because right now, people paying more attention to DJ Academics talking to a 15-year-old boy, or people paying attention more to the fact that the Bills lost and Pat Mahomes is going to the Super Bowl, and they're playing against the Eagles. They're paying attention to the fact that Gilly is dancing in the parking lot with the Eagles and all of that stuff. When the Senate confirmation hearings is happening and Donald Trump is president and he's getting all his homies in office, and like this is what we need to be paying attention to. And pardon me if I get a little worked up, because this is my community that's losing money. I just pulled up these stats. Like this is not a game. Community Development Block Grants, HUD. The purpose was funding affordable housing and community projects. Eliminated. They lost, I don't know if I guess this is $30 million. It says, this is in the millions, but it says 3,000. So 3,000 million is not a thing. So I'm assuming it's 30 million. The same thing with low-income house energy assistance programs. They help low-income families with heating and cooling costs. Eliminated. $34 million. Corporations for public broadcasting. Funds for PBS and NPR phased out. $485 million. National, like, you know what? I'm gonna do a short video with a list of these things so you can see it. Cause I need you to see it. I need you to see it. I'm doing the research for y'all. I just need y'all to see it. And I need y'all to pay attention to it. I need y'all to share it. Because I don't take this stuff lightly. I got a kid. I got 2 kids. I'm trying to leave a better world for them. And what's happening is, like, the reality that these people that are in power have ain't the reality that we have in the hood. Right? So, and I'm one of those people that's not trying to like leave the hood. I'm trying to help develop the hood. But what's happening is, they don't understand what's going on here, so they don't care. So they cutting money out the budget that people need. What's happening now in Atlanta? Like I have mad people in Atlanta because I know, like, my older brother went to Clark, right? What's happening is that it's snowing in Georgia. Them people don't have like insulated houses for certain weather like we have in New York. So they need they need access to some of these heating programs, heating and cooling programs, especially the low income families. People gonna be freezing to death because they don't know how to deal with snow. That's why they cars are all over sliding all over the road because they don't even know how to. They don't have equipment. They don't salt their roads like we do here. Like these are things that you got to pay attention to because they're relevant, and you can't say that government don't like doesn't matter because it matters. If you don't participate, then you can't complain. Let's just keep going though, because I want you to hear this other dude who talked about Head Start. His mom was in. His mom.
Chairman, Ranking Member Merkley. One day to be chairman
Not
again.
him. The next person.
Well, thank you very much. Leader Schumer and Chair Murray have absolutely laid out the challenge, and it was so confirmed in the budget hearing yesterday. Let's understand this. The position of director of the Office of Management and Budget doesn't get the same attention as a Secretary of Defense nominee or an intelligence nominee or a health nominee, but that individual is the chief engineer of the Trump train. Yes, there's a car dedicated to defense and one to secretary, but the chief engineer is the head of OMB. Different way of thinking about it is they are both the person who plans the flights in and out of all the airports and then make sure the planes don't hit each other. They are absolutely critical to driving the agenda.
So, I'm sorry. I was going to let it ride out. I was. You got to pay attention to these analogies because it seems like there's a messaging problem with the Democratic Party. These dudes are, these people, the senators, they're doing a good job of putting together analogies. That airport analogy was good, and Senator Murray's analogy earlier was good. But like these need to be clipped. So I'm gonna try to clip them up. These things need to be clipped and put out there so that people understand it. Because when you watch this stuff, it's boring as hell. Like let's keep it real. It's boring as hell. People don't want to hear this. People don't want to see this. So especially when you got like certain things going on, like you just don't want to see this. So I understand it. I understand why you're not paying attention, but we need to pay attention.
That is why this nominee, Mr. Vought, is the most dangerous nominee put forward by Trump.
Say it loud.
He has a three-part plan. The first part of the plan is to cut the programs for families across the country. Healthcare, housing, education, programs for children. That's the first part of the plan. The second part of the plan is to borrow a massive amount, multiple trillions, and run up the deficit. And then the third part of the plan is to take the money saved by cutting programs for families and the money borrowed from the Treasury to give tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans. Now, that plan has been re-emphasized 3 times. First of all, he served in this very role as chief engineer, director of OMB, at the end of the last Trump administration, and he put forward the last budget for President Trump, and it had exactly those 3 elements. And then he proceeded to run a think tank, or he created his own little think tank, and that think tank put forward the same 3 points. And then he became the chief architect of Project 2025, which again emphasized the 3 points.
All right, so we don't want to keep on going back to the fact that this dude is like part of Project 2025. If you just give the facts out there and say that he is getting rid of programs for working families, he's getting rid of stuff and giving it to the wealthy, just say that. Like what he's saying is very important, very dope. I'm not going to take away from the fact that the things that he's saying matter, but I think it just needs to be plainly stated. Just state it plainly, and then that's it. If you keep on saying Project 2025, and then he's saying he doesn't have anything to do with Project 2025, and you keep going back and forth, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So this is why I say we have a messaging problem that it just needs to be addressed. We're just gonna keep going though.
Borrow massively, run up the deficit, cut programs for workers, and give tax breaks to the wealthiest Americans.
See, I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, and I'm not going to tell you guys whether it's a bad thing or a good thing. What it seems like on the side where people say it's a good thing is that they're getting rid of all of these tax breaks so that companies can come back into America and build and do things in America. That seems like a good thing because GDP is important, and we're going to do a whole video about GDP, right? Gross domestic product. That matters. OD. It matters a lot. But so does like the lives of the people that are already here. So on one hand, you have like we're trying to make this GDP higher, even though our GDP is at like 30 and the next closest person is like 20. I think trillion. And then like then you have to think about, okay, do we care about the country's GDP and having like status over everybody else, or do we care about the people that live in the country? It seems like an easy answer, but it's not that easy.
And in the process, he has shown complete disregard for the law. There's this fancy term, impoundments. Well, let's explain it this way. That Congress decides how much to be spent on each program. But Mr. Vought is very frank, saying, I believe that's just a ceiling. I believe the president gets to decide how much is spent on each program. Well, we had this argument back in 1974 when we had the Budget and Impoundment Control Act. We had this argument in 1996 when we had a single line veto, budget line veto, and it was struck down by the Supreme Court. This law is not in question, but today he says he will continue to violate the law when he is in this position.
Another thing that we have to really consider is that they want to do things that are illegal, but they can't do things that are illegal. At least that's what the optimistic person says. They want to do things that are illegal, but they can't do things that are illegal. That's what the optimistic person says. The pessimistic person says they want to do things that are illegal, but they can't do things that are illegal. But Trump just put people into the Supreme Court, and they probably gonna hold him down. It is no right answer. We don't know. We're gonna have to see how things play out. And that's the problem with what's going on right now. We have to wait and see how things play out. But we don't want to wait and see how things play out because it's playing out nasty. It's playing out real nasty.
And in fact, it was the impoundment that he helped direct on Ukraine that led to Trump's first impeachment, and he holds no qualms about having played such a critical role and putting the president in such a terrible decision and a terrible political position. And he absolutely exudes hate for federal workers. And my colleagues will say more about that. But let's understand, are you going to be doing your work as a civil servant in a nonpartisan, in accordance with the law, or in accordance with things that are against the law because of loyalty? Replacing our nonpartisan, capable federal workers is a big mistake. He has been part of the big lie on elections and continues to make that big lie today. As Chair Murray pointed out, he has extraordinarily extreme views about the reproductive rights of women in America. In sum, he is all about the golden age that Trump talked about as impeachment, at his inauguration, excuse me. And that golden age is for big pharma and big oil. That golden age is for Wall Street and hedge funds. That golden age is for big tech. But you know what it is for the rest of the working families, ordinary families across America? It's not the golden age, it's the dark ages. That's why we must reject this nomination.
Senator King.
Morning, everybody.
This is my guy
So
right
I have
here.
140,000 federal employees in Virginia.
This is my
And they all
guy.
have families. They all have people who care about them all over the Commonwealth, from VA nurses to active duty troops to people doing food inspections. And these are hardworking Virginians that I represent. Russ Vought has an unusual degree of gleeful hatred for the federal workforce. He gave a speech that I asked him about yesterday where he said, I want bureaucrats to be traumatized when they come into work because increasingly they know that they are the villains. He wants the federal workforce traumatized because they should know that they are the villains. Who talks like this? Who talks like this? You all have been in many speeches where you've heard people say, we need to cut federal spending, or we need to deal with the deficit. We hear these speeches all the time, often from Republican colleagues who then don't take any actions to do it, but that is a standard way of talking about the issue of government spending. But I don't know of anybody, much less anybody being considered for a position of this magnitude, who has a gleeful desire to traumatize people who are working for the federal government.
Yo, I don't know why he said that, but as like a person that, like I said, is a lifelong learner and like craves the information, I want to understand why he said it. And I want to get to the root of it because it might make sense. It, it might make sense. Or it just might be pure evil. But I don't want to just shoo it away as if it's nothing because it might have some validity. It sounds crazy, but it might be valid. It sounds crazy, but it might be valid. That happens a lot. So I don't want to just ignore it. But like I was saying, I don't know if you guys heard me in the background. Senator Kaine is so official. At least the things that I've said, he presses people left and right, and I appreciate it.
And when I asked him about that, you want to traumatize like folks who are going out to be the air traffic controllers out at Reagan? Well, no. You want to traumatize the people inspecting our food, our medicines, well, no. You want to traumatize OMB folks? People might think they're well, no. Traumatize those interdicting fentanyl at the border? Well, no. Why'd you say it then? I know that Mr. Vought proclaims to be a faithful person, so I used a Bible verse on him, Luke 6:45, from the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks. The way you capture a thought reveals something very important about who you are as a person. And this gleeful hatred of the federal workforce will lead to nothing good. The second thing, I just want to emphasize what the leader talked about with regard to Project 2025. Senator Merkley mentioned this too. Project 2025 had a kind of an origin story in another document that Mr. Vought was the key architect of. He set up a think tank. That think tank proposed a document about the federal budget. The title of this budget document was An End to Woke and Weaponized Government. Okay. Well, I'm interested. 104 pages. What are you going to do to end woke and weaponized government in your budget, Mr. Vought? And he explained. You look at the document, /SNAP benefits, /Pell Grants, /low-income heating and energy assistance programs, /rental assistance. I asked him about all of those. Tell me why these are woke and weaponized programs. And again, what he said is, I'm not here to defend that document. He wrote it. He named it. He's tipped us all off about what he's going to do. Nobody will be surprised when the Trump first budget comes over here and it's got the thumbprints of Russ Vought's Project 2025 and End to Woke and Weaponized Government all over it, slashing these programs that everyday people count on. He is a nominee who has told us all that he's going to do things that will be very harmful to the American public. We need to reject him. Thanks so much.
Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Chuck.
This the one that I appreciate the most because he talked about Head Start and the fact that these programs are important. And he used to go to Head Start, and now he's a U.S. Senator. So, yeah, his perspective.
Good morning, everyone. You know, to carry off of what my colleagues are sharing this morning after this hearing yesterday, I don't know how many of you had a chance to take it in. I'm going to carry forward a little bit where Senator Kaine was just talking about. While Mr. Vought responded to Senator Kaine and saying that he was not there to talk about this report, that he authored. He's the coach. He wrote the playbook. When I asked him to further clarify why this group and this document was founded and put together, he owned it. He said it right there, his words to the committee and to the American people. So just make no mistake about what's coming. Mr. Vought is the person, the proof that this document exists, Project 2025, the documents that got put into it, this notion that all of these programs that make a difference, a positive difference in people's lives, to help when those utility bills get a little high. Right now, everyone's wearing jackets, scarves. You're worried about getting cold. We had this crazy storm that hit a big part of America that usually doesn't get piles of snow. Did you all see those photos in Florida?
See?
The entire South.
That's crazy. I just said Atlanta. I watched this
You
already.
can't stay warm in the winter and your heat goes out. You can't insulate your home.
Mm-hmm.
You might die. You're going to get really sick, and especially for the most vulnerable against us. Why in the world would this person author an effort to eliminate the programs that matter in, let's pick a few states. How about Ohio and Wisconsin, where some of my colleagues serve on that committee, where their constituents depend on these programs every day? One area that caught my attention in this document is, it said, quote, Head Start participants have worse behavior and academic outcomes than children who do not enroll in the program. I think Mr. Vought was surprised when I told him I went to Head Start.
So I don't like that. I do like that he acknowledged that he went to Head Start. But also, you can't refute what he's saying with your story, your one story. You have to bring facts. You have to bring, it is a fact that you went to the program and that you succeeded, but you have to bring facts about Head Start. And I could bring you hundreds of facts about Head Start as an expert on Head Start. So just acknowledge what he said and then bring information back towards him to shut it down. Like, you can't just shut it down by saying I went to Head Start and I succeeded, because that's what they do to us. That's what they do to black people. I'm black and I'm rich. Like, so you made it, but there's a bunch of other people that's not. So you can't, this is not how we refute information. This is not how we refute ideas. We have to shut them down with facts. The fact is, Head Start is not only about the children. The fact is, Head Start is has a two-generation approach to learning. The fact is that people enter Head Start, and Head Start is free childcare. You have to be eligible for Head Start. There's 4 ways to be eligible for Head Start, and if you meet the requirements, then you have free childcare. That's important. That's as important as insulation for your house. It's important. So you have to say, okay, well, if you think the program is bad or spending too much money, let's fix the program. Let's fix the little things in the program. Don't just get rid of the program. But don't just say, I went there, so it's good. Like, because I don't know who you are. Like, my homies don't know who you are. You just got a job in government that's not significant enough for the program to stay open.
Got me to the United States Senate. What do you think about that? Didn't respond.
Because that's just anecdotal.
My constituents that go to that Head Start that's steps away from the church that I go to, when I'm back in New Mexico, what's he telling to these kids all across America? And what's he saying about early childhood education? Mm-hmm. Why is that on the chopping block? And quite honestly, every one of these programs and other programs that President Trump has talked about in a favorable way, it's all on the chopping block. As a matter of fact, when these budgets come to the American people and to Congress, they're going to have Mr. Vought's signature on them, just like these other budgets do as well. So I'm very concerned about where we stand today. And here's what it comes down to. All of those teachers, those police officers, the firefighters, the pipe fitters, the iron workers, the builders back in New Mexico, those small businesses that are our favorites. I hope someone speaks up when these budgets come forward and they're going to increase costs on all of these families and make things harder.
That's all you have to say.
There's got to be a better way to do this. As I close here, just make no mistake about all my brothers and sisters who have claimed that Project 2025 didn't exist, that they never read it, that they weren't aware of it, because Mr. Vought is proof that it exists. And now he's being nominated as the head person to put these budgets together. It's about time that someone's honest with the American people, and I certainly hope that President Trump and others are willing to speak up about this nonsense and just own it, just like Mr. Vought did.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to reiterate one thing. Yesterday or 2 days ago, President Trump talked about the golden age. Yeah, it's a golden age for drug manufacturers. It's a golden age for big oil companies. It's a golden age for billionaires. It is not at all a golden age for middle-class people who need help and don't get the tax help that the wealthy get. It's not a golden age for American workers who get less pay. It's not a golden age for helping the people who need food stamps. It's not a golden age for people who need insulin to be cheaper. The golden age is only for a very limited few, unfortunately. You could not have a worse nominee in a more powerful position than Mr. Vought.
Yeah, I think that all of that could have been shorter. I think that all of them could have said about 2 minutes of like heat, and they could have flamed him all the way up and made sure that the American people understood it. But the long form content is just as bad as this video being almost 40 minutes, to be honest. Like, I wanted to just put the information out there. I will try to clip up this piece because it's important, and add some context and add some graphs or charts or whatever. Yeah, it's bad, man. I'm out. I'm coming back with the actual hearings, and hopefully you guys pay attention. Like, share, subscribe. If you made it to the end of the video, like, let me know, because I'm building a community here, so like, leave your name, comment, whatever in the chat, whatever. I don't know. I don't know all this YouTube stuff. I mean, I understand it. I understand it completely, but I don't know how y'all want me to be. I'ma just be me. Thank you.